You're listening to Raising Anchor, a Rhode Island FC podcast. We're glad you're here. Hello, and welcome to Raising Anchor, your podcast and source for all things Rhode Island FC. I'm your host, Matt Entrican, and with me, as always, is the stupendous co-host, Jason Carey. Jason, how you doing?
Doing good. I just remembered I'm supposed to think of adjectives. I completely forgot since last time.
Well, you don't have to think of it. You just have to be ready, because I'm going to try to throw you off of your game at the beginning of every episode. It's a strategy I've decided to put into place.
I do know some, but just not on the ready, you know?
Adjectives? You know some? There's
Just
like
a
a
few.
million. What's your favorite adjective?
Probably supercalifragilistic.
But not expialidocious?
No.
Isn't that one
It's a
continuous
little too
word?
much. Maybe.
Can
I don't know.
you cheat the adjective like that? Oh man, my favorite adjective, by the way, is magnanimous. So anticipate that one's coming to you in a podcast intro in the near future. I'm calling my shot now. But we've got quite the wild ride going on with this episode. Are you ready to fall into fall?
I mean, maybe. I've heard that falling is actually like one of the leading causes of death. So.
Whoa, this just went off the rails. I'm ready for fall.
You mean the season? Okay, yeah.
The leaves turning, the leaf peeping, the pumpkin spice lattes, the pumpkin spice, the pumpkin beers, I should say. I don't think they're really pumpkin spice. I'm ready for it. I'm over 90-degree early September weather, and I'm just ready to put on sweatshirts again, and not have to deal with sweating in the sun all day, every day.
Yeah, Halloween, beer drinking, cooler temperatures, all sounds good.
Are you a big Halloween guy? Do you
yeah.
like to get spooky?
I enjoy some horror.
What's your favorite? Putting you on the spot.
I really like The Thing a lot, the John Carpenter version.
Ooh.
I've actually never seen the original The Thing from Outer Space. I think was the original one was called. I like Dawn of the Dead a lot. That one's really good.
Okay.
Not the
George Romero.
The George Romero one. The other one's okay. It takes a very different tone. It's more actiony and silly.
Oh man! All right. Well, we have a ton of stuff to go over today, and there is just not enough time to ever cover it all. So I think lightning fast, we should go over some of the quick talking points that we've learned of over the last week. And let's dive into the stadium. More stadium news. Who would have thought, right?
Oh, I thought we were done talking about this.
I think until it's done, it will never be done.
Yeah, it's just going to keep coming up.
But, at this point, most of it's been good. So the good news on the stadium timeline is that it looks like they're trying to solidify advancing the completion to the end of next year. And I know people are probably thinking, well, yeah, they have to play the next additional season. But there was no confirmation that we wouldn't be running up till the absolute deadline of starting the season, which technically would have been, March of 2025. After a recent Pawtucket City Council meeting, Fortuitous Partners had come out and described some of the plans that were going on for the stadium's development. And they announced that they have projections in place that the stadium will actually be finished by the end of next year. So 2024 will actually see that stadium complete. And they said they actually already have 23 trailers on site with prefabricated steel.
That's good. Gives them a little extra time to kind of double check everything before it's ready for everyone to go check it out.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that'll also probably help them with closing the delay gaps that plague the project from, that May till August timeline. So I again, news can be good. And in this case, it's an absolute good one to hear that the stadium is advancing or accelerating their timelines. But then in a weird way, and again, this is stuff that the naysayers unfortunately fuel, there was some conversation about Fortuitous Partners delaying other elements of the project. So it was recently announced by WPRI after they got transcripts of the meeting that the housing proposals that had been initially developed and assigned for the building of those apartments that would be kind of taking place near the stadium and around the riverfront of the Tidewater Landing project, those have been delayed. But the delay it's interesting. It's not that we've done anything wrong. It seems that the approvals for the design didn't go through. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert on this. My guess is that they didn't meet the expectations of what the city wanted to see, and maybe what the state expected for the construction grants and the loans for the entirety of the project. So the Fortuitous Partner Group needs to kind of come back and complete either edits to the design or offer a redesign that will get approval from the city. So from the housing perspective, that's unfortunate, but it has no bearing right now on the stadium. It's completely separate, although I would, again, say that the naysayers would say, oh, well, you're getting your stadium done on time, but the people that need housing, they're not benefiting from it now. So again, just like McCoy and its closure and potential revitalization, the city will find the sourest and lowest talking points and kind of just try to exacerbate that, unfortunately. So it's not bad news. It's just it's one of those things that I think happens. And again, if you want to see this project get done correctly, then that's just a consequence of making sure that everything gets done the right way, only one time.
We had talked about this a little bit on one of the episodes where we kind of went over the stadium project, and I think that we both kind of were on the idea that the housing was probably not going to get completed right away. So I mean, this tracks. Like I to a certain extent kind of expected this, as long as they get it done and keep working on it. From a sporting perspective, the stadium needs to come first,
Yeah, you can't get people excited around the area and get the businesses to come in if there's nothing that anchors the facilities around the river. So I think it's just one of those things that it's a wait and see. I don't think that there's anything at risk in the project. And honestly, when you see all of the phases, this has to be at least a 10-year plan. Like, this is not something that can get done overnight, and it's not something that can get done right away in a single year. So, and then additionally, one of the things that we learned from the council meeting, and I thought this was really interesting because, again, this was something that Go Local Prov loves to try to, beat down this project, is they had initially come out with a report that said that Brett Johnson, founder of the club, had been irresponsibly setting up collateral in the loans that had been secured to stand up the final financial gap, and that if these were ever to default, or from an assessor perspective, they'd fall back to the collateral being used on the stadium itself, meaning that if something had gone wrong, the stadium would be the first thing collected by the receiver. So if Joe Schmo offered the loan and then the club defaulted, or Brett personally defaulted, they could collect the stadium's ownership for themselves, and it wouldn't default back to the city or the state. And so it was this big controversy, but it was just a UCC filing catch. I don't know if there was any intention to it, but the Fortuitous Partner Group already came out and said, hey, we appreciate the catch. We had no intention of doing that. That's just standard boilerplate. And to make everyone feel happy, we've removed that terminology and language from the contract. So that's been smoothed over. I can't wait to see the next hit piece that comes out against the club now. What else are they going to find? But yeah, so that was just kind of a quick update on what's going on in the stadium. Again, our leadership in the Rhode Island FC front office is doing a fantastic job. Fortuitous Partners as an ownership group also doing a great job. I want to switch gears. We've got another Coach Kano in the Wild sighting. And this time, I think you got it.
Yeah. I mean, I was out and about doing a little grocery shopping. I didn't get a chance to say hi. I was actually on my way out, and he was heading in.
I noticed you don't want to say the name of where you were grocery shopping. Are you trying to keep the coach's protection, or are you trying to protect your own anonymity on where you like to shop? You don't want the listeners to find you now and stalk you?
I'm not ashamed to say I occasionally shop at Trader Joe's.
You don't want to tell the world you're a Trader Joe bro?
I wouldn't say I'm a Trader Joe bro. I mean, after I was leaving, I was telling my wife how I have a love-hate relationship with them, in a sense that I like a lot of stuff they have. They have pretty good stuff, pretty good prices. But their I'm not a claustrophobic person, but their stores are just so
Keep it tight.
They cram them. They find like, where's the smallest corner we can pack the store into, get the maximum amount of traffic. And all the college kids were in there, and the place was like ransacked and was busy. It was just like, I'm gonna grab the like 5 or 6 things that I need here, and I'm just get out of here.
I have it on good authority that is by design, and that it comes.
Yeah,
it stems from the business model that if you keep a store packed and you keep it tight on its property line, with limited parking, it looks like it's always just the place to be. So if you can fit 400 people in your store, but you only have 12 parking spots, the insanity that ensues, it just looks like there's a run. There's just the sale of sales, and the fact that they have a pretty great product line. I mean, it's just a recipe for disaster. So yeah, I mean, the fault is yours. You didn't ride your bike to Trader Joe's. You got to ride your bike.
Yeah, I mean,
And then you would have ran into Coach.
I
'cause you
usually
hadn't been
try
driving
and
away.
like go like on Wednesday morning or something when when people are not shopping there and it's just not that busy. But I don't know, I just needed a few things and
What do you think Coach was in there for? Speculate.
I don't know.
I feel like he buys concentrated cold brew. I feel like that's his go-to purchase.
Maybe,
And maybe some vegan soy rizo. Which, by
yeah.
the way, don't sleep on the soy rizo, listeners.
stuff's good.
It's really good. I mean, I don't go to Trader Joe's, but I've heard.
Never been, but people have told me.
Oh, too funny, too funny. All right, where do you think we'll see Coach next in the wild? I mean, obviously he lives in downtown Providence somewhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, considering the proximity of the places that we ran into him, he's got to be somewhere over there.
I think he's living in the top of the Superman building. Fun fact, that building allegedly has a blimp receiving station at the top. From way back in the age of Zeppelins, they would dock at the top of Superman, and it would be like a train station. It'd be like getting on and getting off, and it's still there, I think. I don't know. Any listeners that want to correct that statement, feel free to do so, or just take me up for confirmation. I want to see it. But yeah, that may or may not have been a blimp terminal at some point. So we just got to revitalize that. Ooh, Rhode Island FC, they need a blimp. Get themselves a blimp. All right, you ready to jump into real news?
Yeah. Let's do it.
So, in serious matters, we are glad to say that the season tickets have been a success across the board. We mentioned it last week that the club was quite happy. Some executives from the front office had shared that they were thrilled with the performance so far. We had run some early numbers by manually counting seats that had been purchased and locked up based on the stadium's availability, and determined that there was probably around 61 to 65% that we knew were confirmed, but there were also a set of reservations that we thought may have been separated. But if you looked at total capacity, it was over 71% in total accumulation of tickets that had been secured. The club, now having gone through its season ticket member event for the people that had put down their initial deposits. So with that, we learned that the club had opened up season ticket purchases to the general public, and within the first few hours, an additional 200 seats were picked up. So there were people waiting at the door like it was a retail store on Black Friday, opening up for to get your gifts, get the hot items. And there were additional sales that had been completed at the ticketing purchase on SeatGeek. Right now, we estimate that there's over 3,000 seats, like we said. And so if you think about it from a ticket transaction perspective, I don't think there's going to be a lot of seats left for the general sale. And I know that you said, they probably have to have a certain amount available so that people that are interested in the product can, pick it up and go. But it's starting to look really scarce there.
It's getting pretty tight in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll be really curious by, the time some of these other bigger events happen and more awareness gets spotlighted on the club. I'll be really curious. We should probably ask the club if they intend to secure and protect a certain amount of, day of game seats, or at least for like single ticket reservations, because this excludes people that maybe didn't want to buy season tickets but wanted to try a 4-day, a 4-game mini plan.
Yeah, I also think that realistically, some of the people with season tickets may, sell a ticket or two here or there, be like, hey, I've got something else to do this weekend. I'll, sell my ticket. So there will be opportunities. I just don't know how much.
I wonder.
It seems like the demand is pretty high. So
Right. I wonder if the Hartford Derby becomes like an instant sensation where that game the first time out just is, $200 a seat kind of pricing, or if it's going to take a few years to build up. That'll be really interesting to see. But again, all in all, I think the fans know, the club knows that this has been an overwhelming success. So we are very much on track to be filling up Bernie by the time 2024 rolls around. So on top of that news, we've got some, I think, even bigger news, and I think this kind of complements or rounds out our technical questions around staff selections, because I think this was the only thing missing in the organizational makeup. So, what news did we have on our recent technical staff?
all right. So RIFC signs a goalkeeper coach. I think he's doing a little more than that. So I'm going to read some of this here. Rhode Island FC continues to gain momentum as they move closer to the start of the 2024 USL Championship season. Head coach and general manager Conno Smith announced today that Carl Spratt has joined the team's technical staff as assistant coach and director of goalkeeping.
I wonder in the grand scheme of things, do they, like, if you have 3 assistant coaches, is there one that's more assistant-y than the other? Like, is Dave McKay technically second in? If Conno gets a red card, walks off the field, who steps up into the box?
Yeah,
McKay?
I'm not sure. I wonder if in like these, like a USL scale, if you have people pulling double roles, like for instance, Real Madrid, they have a goalkeeping coach, probably a defense, you know what I mean? Like they have, I don't know Carlo Ancelotti's tactics, but they probably have a staff of 5 or 6 different coaches who are all working together. And then you have like maybe your one main side guy.
Yeah, but that's Real Madrid. That's Barcelona.
Yeah, so he's assistant coach and the director of goalkeeping.
Coach Spratt could also be assistant driver for the bus. I mean, we don't have infinite resources with this club.
Yeah, no, I just wonder how many more like staff members they'll be bringing on. You know what I mean?
Oh, and that's why I'm saying, like, I wonder if this rounds out the collection, and anything after this is just, sports medicine or
yeah, like they kind of working together as a team to kind of figure out. Obviously, Coach Conno will have the main say, but he will rely on his team to help him. So just wonder like how big of a team he's going to build. But let me finish this up here. Prior to joining Rhode Island FC, Spratt was the assistant coach for Philadelphia Union 2 and head of goalkeeping for the Philadelphia Union Academy.
So that's isn't that where the legendary Andre Blake plays out of?
Possibly.
He's
I wonder if there's
MLS's number 1 rated keeper, and he's been that for 3 or 4. In fact, some argue that that's what's kept Philly in actual competitive status over the last 3 years, as they've made deeper and deeper pushes into playoffs and U.S. Open Cups.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much he's played into that, but that could be be a good thing for us.
Agreed.
Let's see. Part of the Philadelphia Union Club that appeared in the MLS Cup Finals last year. In this role, Spratt was directly responsible for micro and macro planning, strategy, and implementation of all Union 2 and Academy goalkeeping development plans. Coach Conno Smith added, Carl's expertise and dedication to player development will play a key role in creating an environment where our goalkeepers and the complete roster feel supported and driven to challenge themselves on and off the field. For a significant portion of his career, Carl has dedicated himself to improving soccer in Rhode Island, and I am grateful to have him be a part of creating a team for all Rhode Island. From youth teams to college teams to professional clubs, Carl has proven time and time again that he is a coach ready and willing to support his players as they continue to develop, improve, and grow in confidence. Spratt spent 8 years in Providence as assistant coach of Providence College men's soccer. He also worked with New England Revolution's youth teams, first as youth team's goalkeeping coach, and then as director of goalkeeping. Spratt comes to Rhode Island FC with a number of prestigious coaching qualifications, including the United Soccer Federation A license. In talking with Carl Spratt, I am honored to be joining Rhode Island FC. The Ocean State is a special place, and I am incredibly excited to help bring the sport I love at the professional level to a state my family and I have called home for many years. I am ready to put in the hard work to help build a team that all Rhode Island can be proud of. Spratt attended the University of Sunderland in the United Kingdom and graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Sport and Exercise Development.
That's interesting. So he's a New England, I don't know, native, because obviously he may be from other parts, but he spent a significant amount of time in the New England area with the Revs connection and Providence men's soccer. I cannot find a time where the front office does not get these technical acquisitions correct. Like it just, I said this before. The stars align. Either they are just burning all of the luck right now to get these kinds of people on board, or they're playing some sort of mind game on the rest of the league. I really think we're going to be a force to contend with when it comes to 2024.
Yeah, I see you getting the Sunderland connection there. You hear the dumb joke about can Messi do it on a cold Tuesday night in Sunderland? You know, maybe he can bring a little Sunderland here to Rhode Island, and then we can when Messi comes plays us in the Open Cup.
He's the jinx.
Yeah, no, we'll see if he can
do it.
Yeah, we'll see if he can do it.
Yeah, I love it. No, like I said, this is just, again, more fantastic news. I feel like that now really rounds out, because I believe there are 4 total coaches in terms of the technical staff. So if there's additional things that need to happen, I'm not aware of it from what you would want to cover. So just congratulations again to the front office and to Coach Kano on some incredible pickups. In other news, not nearly as cool as having our goalkeeper coach announced, is I was going through the socials, and I found that Mikey Parkhurst, as the locals say, that he recently had an announcement with Atlanta United's Total Soccer program, that his personal kind of work project has signed on to help mentor Atlanta Academy players. Now, I don't know if it's only Atlanta Academy, which would be like, MLS Next, or if it's Atlanta 2. But just the fact that his program, which he partnered with Greg Garza, legendary player Greg Garza from MLS as well, to do these mentorships and development programs. I am kind of curious to think, with no team affiliation, could we see some Atlanta United prospects or people that need playing time for a stretch come to RIFC?
It's possible. I imagine he has connections from his playing time there that maybe he can leverage.
Agreed. I mean, when we covered him, we talked about his roots in the New England Revolution and his stint in Columbus. But he left as a hero in Atlanta, so I'll be really interested to see if he engages with the Columbus crew or Atlanta for that matter. But with this company having this kind of partnership going on, it just makes me kind of continue to fuel the fire, because we are so low on rumors right now. We've heard things that we can't share, and it's tough because we're also talking 3 weeks further in advance. So there's possibilities these things will get announced, and we could tell you, oh, it's such and such right now. But we can't share that because we are, our lips are sealed at the moment. We were told this in off the record conversations, and we can't move forward in discussing that. I can't even do like Pig Latin where I say it rhymes with,
Just saying a bunch of nonsense, getting yourself in trouble.
Exactly. In fact, and what I've noticed too is that the members of the Discord are starting to go off on it as well and start having conversations about, who they think would get picked up. And there's already a name getting dropped in the chat that Coach Cano's had personal conversations with some of the members of the Discord, and that we'll see Oscar Santos from Guatemala's national team, and I think he's at Comunicacion's join. Again, people are starting to throw things out there where there's a lack of noise, right? Where there's a lack of conversation going on.
Yeah, you just start your own rumor mill. Just go on and just say, my sources tell me.
I mean, you're only wrong. You're only wrong until you're not wrong, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So it's interesting for me to think kind of what those possibilities be, and then on top of potential loans or player signings, we got tryouts.
Oh man, I'm not ready.
Are you thinking maybe it's time to dust those boots off and see if you can still run for 90 minutes straight?
Get out my predators, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you gotta get the Predators. How do you feel about open? I tried to find information in the league on what the conversion of open tryouts does for leagues like this. I think there's a sensationalism in this country that we can blame Mark Wahlberg for doing that tryout movie where he walked on to replace the quarterback of I think it was the Philadelphia Eagles. There's this like romanticism of I just haven't been discovered yet, so I'm going to go to this open tryout and I'm going to prove that I've been deserving of a shot my entire life, and I have no clue what this conversion will look like. But I'm kind of curious. Have you ever heard? I mean, there's the legend of Jamie Vardy.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
don't
only
know
one I
how,
know of.
but I wonder if I don't know with his story tryouts. I know he was working as a bag boy at a Publix or whatever. I forget what they're called.
Didn't he get discovered in the Sunday League?
And that's the thing is, I assume that these people who are getting discovered are playing soccer in some capacity somewhere. It's not just like, I just decided to show up and apparently I'm amazing. I don't think things like that happen.
Oh, I 100% assume that it's people in these leagues, like with the Rhode Island Rogues, with Providence City FC, people that maybe aren't even on coach's radar or they haven't heard about a scouting opportunity. They're absolutely probably going to show up. So I think there's a mixed bag of amateur and people who have never been on a team that would be considered semi-pro. I don't think it's the guys like you and me who are literally going to dust off the shoes and although it would be hilarious for a documentary if we signed up and just ran for all of, I've got 3 minutes in the tank and then I'd be throwing up on the side, but I think it's less going to be those kinds of people, and I also assume that the club is going to charge a significant amount of money to have you try out, to exclude or to kind of filter out the people that don't have wasting their time, and that's a shame because then that kind of goes probably into the pay to model. I mean, yeah, we'll find out how much that fee is.
We'll be there.
But I don't think it's going to be this, bag of wasted opportunity. I'm just curious if we pick up anyone at all.
Yeah,
If they don't pick anyone up, they probably won't ever do this again.
I imagine for depth, to probably pick up a few guys.
Oh, so you're thinking we'll pick up several?
I mean, you've got the starting 11, and then it depends. Squads can be as big as 25, right? Sometimes.
I think the full roster's 30, and you can bring 23 on a travel day. So there's that even some of the biggest, richest teams, you've got your 11, and then maybe you've got 5-ish good rotate, and then after that you've got a bunch of young academy kids and stuff. Who's that Man City goalkeeper that they keep on the books because they need to satisfy a certain amount of English players on the roster, and he's never played a game for City, but he's been on the club for 5 or 8 years, and he's super overweight, I think. Or not, he's overweight.
He's not overweight. But I know who you're talking about. His name escapes me right now at the moment. I think he actually won a Champions League with Liverpool back in the day too, which is
actively
funny.
Playing the Gerrard Liverpool era.
Yeah.
And was he the starter?
No. So he was just the backup goalkeeper.
So that's what I'm saying. I've heard that
I
this
think
guy
they just
has never played more than 20 minutes in
I think
professional time.
From what I've heard, they just keep him around. They like him. He's a good guy.
He's a good lad. Yeah.
And he looks way old, even though he's like our age.
The professional sport will do that to a person who has to put in that many miles. So I'll be curious to see. I don't know how many pickups we'll get. I liken this to the same way MLS treats the Super Draft now for the collegiate programs, and it's really just kind of a waste of time. I anticipate that the Super Draft will go away at some point in the future because I don't think we've seen a single prospect come out of that was successful in the last 5 years. And you know, most of the great players that do come up in those leagues, they start in MLS Next. They are homegrown players, so if they weren't already getting scouted at those ages or at some point in that part to be coming out of college at 20, 22 and not having been a part of those systems, it's just really hard to assume that those would integrate in. So we'll see. I think we'll be lucky if we pick up. Well, I don't even think lucky. I think that person will be lucky if we pick up one. But we'll see what that total head count is. Again, you're going to bring in the entire loyal squad, so you don't even. You need like 4 players at this point.
I mean, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Agreed. So you ready to jump into some of the saucy news?
Saucy news, like spaghetti?
I guess. So in conjunction with some of the conversation that happened with the Pawtucket City Council meetings, we also learned that the partnership groups released some additional information about really big events that we've been waiting to hear from the club, in addition to open tryouts. And it's only fair if we kind of share what we know about the kit reveal. So what we can tell you so far is that we know that there is going to be this big kit reveal event. We don't have a date or a location yet. My money, if I were to just to speculate, would be probably using the Guild, because it's just one of those facilities that whether you use the beer hall, you use the private room, or you use that courtyard, it's the easiest way to quickly get people in and kind of control an environment. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go somewhere else or go something, more swanky, or if they go somewhere with a little bit more history and, reflection to the state itself. But what we don't also know is we really don't know who's going to be invited to the event yet. We've asked and we've asked. We've been told we'll get to go, so listeners, we'll let you know how it works. But we don't know if it's going to be a media exclusive event with maybe certain members of the community. So, if that's Defiance 1636 and maybe some, key season ticket members, or just like key fans and mostly, city and sponsorship personnel. We just don't know yet, and the club hasn't, unfortunately, been too forthcoming about that yet. So we're hoping to find out more and more as time goes on. And if they do invite Defiance 1636, which I think if they don't, it's a miss, because you want your party people there. I would be saying that that's an encouraging thing to go sign up for Defiance 1636 if you want to be there for that opportunity. But having said that, what we also know is that the sponsorship for the kits is going to be announced. I don't know if it'll be ahead of that so that they get their own moment in the spotlight, or if that will be part of the kits reveal. It hasn't been made clear to us yet on whether or not we can anticipate that. I still have my money on CVS Health, but I wouldn't be surprised if I'm also completely wrong when it comes to that announcement.
There's going to be a truck that's driving down the road, and then it's going to transform into Optimus Prime.
It's not going to be Hasbro.
An RIFC jersey that says Hasbro on it.
I mean, it could be Hasbro, but it's not going to be Optimus Prime. You've got to let that go. And that makes sense. What we also don't know in terms of that date and time is the club has announced that it will happen within the next 2 months. So if you think about it economically and strategically, that has to happen so that they can start selling the kits to you before the holiday season. We kind of mentioned that in the last pod, because they got to get their money out of you before you go and spend it on something else. What I don't know if it was caught in the last episode, and so I'll reinforce it here, though, is I did say kits. So they do intend, to my knowledge, and if this is dated or wrong, I will hide this in the podcast notes later. But it's our knowledge that they will be actually releasing both the home and away, so the primary and the secondary kits, at the same time. So for listeners that maybe thought we'd see the primary first and then before the season started, we'd see the away. As our knowledge and understanding of it is right now, they intend to release both of those at the same time, which is awesome because then it gives you the chance to be more broke than you were already anticipating being the first time around. So
nice. Do you think you'll buy one right off the bat, or will we wait till we sign a player so you can get a name on the back?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. So my intention with this is the following: is one, I hope at the event, if they're really clever, they do one of those stations where they can press the number and the name you want onto
get your
it.
own.
And I fully intend, unless there's a player that I know, like truly know and love, my kits will be to sponsor the podcast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stencil out if Raising Anchor is just too long to where it's doing that rainbow, around the number. It's just like bent as a total U because that's a lot of words or letters, excuse me. But if that doesn't work, it's Anchors Up. I'm getting Anchors Up. And what I'll probably do is I'll either pick a number that is almost never used in soccer so that you can always find me amongst the crowd.
Be that like crazy backup striker who's like uses number 99.
Yeah, exactly. Because that, or I'm going to use the year, so I can just always remember which year the kit that I have on was released. So I may then do, I guess technically it's 24 because it's the 2024 season, but I do 24 and then Anchors Up across the top. So I don't know. I don't know which one I'll do yet. And then again, if Joe Corona or someone else that I do know joins the team, maybe go that way. But I do intend to buy as many of these kits as I can, unless they're bad. If they're bad kits, I'm going to demand that the club gives me a gift of the kit because I'm not going to spend money on something I don't believe in. But I have faith right now that they're
I
going
have
to do
faith
well.
too, considering like how well the logo came out. These are going to. I'm pretty sure these can be good kits.
I mean, wink, wink, because we don't already know stuff and things. So, but yeah. So listeners, anticipate that. And we're kind of going to just take things from there. And also too, the only thing I want to say is as well, we're projecting that it can be up until that week or two before Thanksgiving, sometime after Halloween and before Thanksgiving. It may come even sooner because again, they may need to announce the sponsorship so that sponsor starts recouping dollars from the announcement. And on top of that, it may come sooner because if we start announcing these players that we've heard about, for like where they're at in contract negotiations, it only makes sense to bring them into the fold with a kit. Like when they do that whole, they extend the jersey out and say, hey, like this is our player and this is the number they'll have. It would look kind of silly without some sort of Rhode Island FC branded merchandise. And I just don't think the hat or the training gear is enough to give the right splash to a player being signed for the club. So we may see this in 2 to 3 weeks. And again, if it does happen in 2 to 3 weeks, I think that further reinforces that it may be more of a closed door event versus inviting people to some sort of bigger season ticket, or excuse me, kit reveal party. I also know that the club is still working through how to have that season ticket member experience. I believe it's their goal to get that out there before the club starts. And if you think about the good weather versus the bad, it's a lot easier to still do that when we're not all stuck in snow and mud and rain. So it wouldn't be surprising to me to find out that maybe they're also working on something like that in the woodworks right now, but nothing confirmed at this time. So it'd be really interesting to kind of understand how that shakes out. Is there a sponsor that you would not wear if it was announced?
Not that I can think of. You wouldn't want something.
What's the one the Galaxy have that pyramid
the
scheme?
Herbalife.
Yeah. If it was an MLM, would you
multi-level? Yeah. I at the end of the day, it's just a sponsor on a shirt. I mean, corporations.
Spoken like a poet. Yeah, I don't know who I would not want to see, but it'll be interesting, who is announced. So more to come. Everyone stay close to that, and we'll just kind of take it from there. And then in additional news, as if there wasn't enough that was released in this one city council meeting, Mascot was not announced, but hinted at, heavily hinted at. So we've known that there's a mascot coming for a while now. We know what it is. So we're going to try to play the game of we're not going to tell you, but try to reference some other things so that there's a clue about it, because that part was definitely spoken to us off the record. But before we jump into what we anticipate or what we would want to see out of it, I thought it would be important to just kind of have a conversation with you, Jason, about what we've already seen in doing our research of mascot pedigrees in the club, in the league. I talked in one of the recent episodes about I have no clue what the thing I saw in Hartford was, and you did the research. You did the investigation on my behalf.
Yeah, so I was trying to figure out all the different mascots for each of the teams, and it's weird how it's not easily accessible information.
It is a closely guarded secret. That and player salaries are the two tightest kept secrets.
Some of them are just like, boom, right there. Here's our guy. Maybe those are the teams who are proud of their mascots. Some I couldn't tell. So, I mean, we'll start off with the aforementioned Hartford Athletic mascot. His name is Dylan.
I don't like that they named him. I mean, I know that all of them have names, but I didn't want to know his name. It gives him power. I don't like. And Dylan's just a regular human being's name. Like that is. Well, I know why. By the way, I got a listener correction already. I had said that it was Trinity Health Stadium. Trinity Health is the sponsor. It's Dylan Stadium. So this thing you're about to describe is named after the place that he resides in.
That's crazy. So he is Glowacus.
One more time for the listeners.
Glowacus.
Could you use that in a sentence?
So, a Glowacus is a creature of legend. It's weird. Is this like some sort of Loch Ness monster thing? Supposedly allegedly in 1939 in Glastonbury, Connecticut, there was a sighting of them. They refer to it as a northern devil cat. It's something like a cross between a bear, a panther, and a lion.
Like a man-bear-pig in South Park?
Which sounds kind of scary, but then when you see the Dylan, he doesn't put fear into my eye.
Okay, here's the thing. Just rewind the tape for a second there. You said that it was a cross between a bear, a panther, and a lion. I'm remotely sure that two of those animals are not native to the state of Connecticut.
Yeah, see, this is... I don't know what's going on over there in Connecticut.
How drunk do you think this person was when they made this sighting? On a scale of 1 to freedom, how drunk were they?
Moonshine.
I can't. I mean, everything you just said is ridiculous, but I continue to look at the spelling, and that is equally ridiculous. Listeners, how do you think you spell Galactus? I can't even say it. It doesn't roll off the tongue.
Glowacus.
Glowacus? Not
Glowacus.
I don't. Yeah. All I'm hearing is wackus. And that's all that's been happening to Hartford Athletic this season. So, that one is not in the running for best mascots in the league. There's an entire list, and we'll publish it at the time of this episode. We'll probably actually throw it in a poll on the Spotify. The Spotify allows you to listen and vote on things and ask questions directly of the episodes. Thanks to those of you that are asking those questions. We're doing our best to kind of read through those and respond. I really appreciate the support. So we'll probably throw a poll up, but I want to ask you, of the ones you've seen, what are your top 3 favorite USL mascots so far?
Cash the soccer rocker is pretty ridiculous.
So Cash is absolutely the favorite for now. For those of you that have never seen him, we highly encourage you go to Las Vegas Lights' social media platform. It's probably the only thing they're doing good with their organization right now. It is a Elvis mascot in the full regalia of like the later stages of Elvis's life, and he's got a belt, one of those the wrestling belts almost, and it's an incredible thing to see. So until we announce ours. Definitely the front runner for Mascot Supreme. What are some other really good ones that you were impressed with?
Detroit City FC has Friendly the Bear and like straight up looks like a teddy bear.
Oh, and that's what you like to see?
No, I just thought it was different. That was interesting. Orange County SC has Gnarly, which looks like.
Just say it looks gnarly.
Thought he looks kind of like a Muppet.
It does. It looks like a Muppet or a McDonald's side character.
Or like maybe what's the Galaxy Cosmo? Like if he had a cousin.
Okay. Yeah.
Who was like a surfer.
Yeah. I think the weirdest one in the league is definitely New Mexico United's. Snaggy. Listeners,
what
go
even
look
is
at that.
thing?
It looks like a deflated dead mouse. The DJ.
It's like, yeah, it's some like weird European rejected DJ. Like
it's a feral cat version of dead mouse that's been left outside and not fed for years. It's just creepy and weird, and I don't know how they signed off on that.
Yeah, there's just some weird. It was weird how hard it was to find a lot of this information. Another odd thing I noticed: Charleston Batteries, Leo, a lion. I've not seen pictures in any current kits, so I don't know if he's
retired.
If he's retired.
I would love to see, and I don't know this yet. I look forward to watching this year's championship game, but I hope that during the halftime for the final for USL, that they fly all of the mascots in and they have some sort of like, because again, you have enough teams, you could field an 11 on 11, and I want to see a mascot.
Squid Games?
Yeah. No, I don't want battles to the death. I just want to see like an 11 on 11 in like a youth playing field size show. That's what I want to see. Like that's where the fun is. But no, I agree. I think
aside, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think Cash from Las Vegas Lights is definitely number one, and then my runner up would probably be El Paso Locomotive's bat. Again, I don't know how you got a bat when you could have been a train engineer. You literally could have just worn a Thomas the Tank Engine costume, and but whatever. I digress. So to our mascot, though, what do you think the club needs to do to make sure that this gets done correctly? Again, knowing that we have insider knowledge.
It's going to be a giant salt shaker.
Only if it's shooting like salt off the top every time it goes around. No, I think that would be a fantastic idea. It's a simple one. I think that it's really interesting because as adults, mascots mean very little to us, and I feel that maybe they're more rooted in the casual or the children that would come in. Like that's the fun thing for them to come and participate with. That doesn't mean you can't not have something be a little bit more well balanced. I am curious to see how the fans will react to the decisions that have been made. Yeah,
I've found that I've come full circle with mascots. When you're a kid, you see them, you're like, oh, haha, that's cool. And then you become your edgy teenager, you're like, oh, these are lame. And then I got back to the point where like I like them again. So but I also
acquired taste.
Acknowledge that like that they are ridiculous in a way. They're just in fun.
Fun. That's all the requirements. All we know for sure with the mascots is that the club is taking it serious. They're going to be interviewing for the person to play the mascot. And from what I know of mascot culture, from some of the teams that we've supported over the years, those identities are very, very well protected. Like if you're in the inner circles, you know all of each other's like real names, but otherwise your entire persona is, that thing that you put on. It's not one of those, it's the 30th member of your soccer team putting it on for the day because they needed someone in a pinch. These people take this job very serious. So it'll be really interesting to see who applies. Maybe there'll be open tryouts for the mascot position. Maybe that's something we could actually apply for. Although I don't know if I'd fit in the costume.
Yeah, those are the tryouts that maybe we could actually do well at.
So all we can say is I think some people will love it. I think some people will hate it. but much like the Wicked Good Soccer conversation, it's really going to be something that is going to help benefit the club. And whether you're a person that wants to complain about it, or you realize that at the end of the day, the mascot isn't really anything to do with competing and being a number one team fielded in the league, that's kind of really where we're going. So I think what I wanted to do is, because we've switched gears a little, we didn't cover USL right away, and I wanted to save that for the end, because I think as we're getting close to the end of the season, I wanted to make sure that we focused the right kind of conversation on what's going on around the league. And so, Jason, in terms of table performance, where are we sitting? Like, are teams already locked in and guaranteed playoff spots? Are there teams fighting for the top spot? Like, what's the table spread looking like right now?
So we do have some teams that are locked in. So like Pittsburgh Riverhounds and Tampa Bay Rowdies, like locked in a playoff spot. From there, it is, it's pretty open. That we've talked about the parity in the league. The point spread on the East out here is stretched out a little bit. You've got 19-point difference between first and eighth. If we look,
so wait, 19 with it's 6 or less games left. So, well, from 8th, they're not making it to
not
first.
Everyone's on the same amount of games, but 6 times 3, 18. So, at that point they're locked in.
So it's Pittsburgh's position to lose first place at this point. Same with maybe Tampa Bay at second.
Yeah, but at the same time, they only have they're 1 point ahead of Rowdies, who do have a game in hand, and then the Battery, they're 2 points ahead of them. So it is tight. So you can't rest on your laurels.
And you want to be one of the top 4 teams to secure home stadium rights for the playoffs. So who are the top 4?
So here in the East, we got Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Tampa Bay Rowdies, Charleston Battery, and Louisville City FC.
Okay. And then you've got, after that, I know Indy 11's made a push recently.
So Memphis 901's behind them in 5th, Indy 11th and 6th, Birmingham Legion in 7th, and FC Tulsa at 8.
Speaking of Birmingham Legion, did you see the implosion of complaints against their head coach down in Birmingham?
No, I think I missed that.
So they have been on a really poor run of form, and there have been comments taking place in their social media that they are blaming a lot of the poor performance this season, but most importantly in this recent string of losses and ties, to the fact that Coach Kano, who was formerly the assistant coach there, was actually the person behind all of the success for the club, and that they believe that it was a mistake to let him go, and they should have actually separated their head coach at the time and given Coach Kano the main title, the main act. So,
ooh, spicy.
Right, but you love to hear validation like that. When another club who has no allegiance to you is saying, "How dare you take what we needed to be successful?"
The one that got away.
Exactly.
If
that's not validation,
the Wolverine meme with a picture looking.
Oh, Gene Gray. Yeah. So I hear things like that, and that's the best kind of publicity you could ask for. So
yeah, no.
Sorry, Birmingham, but not sorry at the same time. So
he's ours now.
You snooze, you lose.
I mean, what they've got, they're sitting on 36 points at 27 games. They've got 4 points on Tulsa. They're still in it.
Okay. I mean, yeah, but again, from a positions 1 through 4 perspective, there's such a thing as home field advantage, and so knowing that, again, it sounds like Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh are pretty locked into getting to host a home field game. It'll be interesting to see how the rest of that shakes out. I think we should watch that pretty closely so we can kind of understand the power struggles, since those will be our competitors next year. And I'll be really fascinated to see who's got it in them, who's got enough juice left in the tank to make deep playoff seeding pushes and go from there. So Is there anything in the West that we need to cover? I know we're really trying to start focusing more on the East, but any noise there?
Just a quick interesting thing I noticed. No one's clinched out here. So the point spread's a little smaller, or the gap is a little smaller, I should say. Sacramento Republic FC at 51, and at 8th, El Paso Locomotive with 35.
You did that on purpose.
So that's, well, no. So that's a 16-point gap right there.
Right.
So, El Paso actually has 8 games to play still, because they're only 26 played.
They have 6 games to tie.
So, they could.
How are the loyal? Where are they at?
They're up to 4th at the moment.
Okay, so they get a home.
And
That would be great.
They're at 26 games played as well, too.
If they can get a home field for their send off in the championship, like that is the one thing I think. If they can bury me with the cup, so be it. But at least they can get a home playoff berth to really say goodbye to the team if things don't work out further down. That is awesome to hear. I also can't believe that at 51 points with Sacramento Republic, they haven't clinched a playoff spot, like guaranteed. That's insane.
I mean, they essentially have. It's just, mathematically,
right. Because there's so many other.
Because the point gap is not as big.
Right, because with El Paso at 8 games left, 3 is 24, and you said it was only 16-point difference. So, No, I get it. It's really weird to hear a 51-point team in these kinds of leagues not having at least the playoff clinched. Maybe not their positioning and seeding, but that's insane. All right, well then let's switch off to our events. So we got a couple updates from the club. I made some complaints that they're giving the news out too late for our time traveling ways. So we were able to get some confessions from the front office. So you want to read out what we've got going on with the club?
Yeah, so on October 8th, RIFC will be at the Newport Marathon.
Ooh, getting their run on?
You think anyone from the club will run it? Maybe Coach will?
I don't see why not.
Is it a full marathon, or is it?
Is that the one that runs across the Pell Bridge? I don't think it's a full. I think the only full one we have is the Providence Marathon. But you're asking someone who doesn't run for fun or at all if I know that question. So I'm gonna have to phone a friend and get back to you on that one.
Just throwing it out.
But
there.
it'd be cool if Rhode Island FC sponsored people to run like on their behalf with the new kits.
Ooh.
That's how you bring it. That you got to run the event and then run to a secret location, kit release. Nice. What else they got going on?
October 13th, movies in the park at Rocky Point.
You think it's going to be Hocus Pocus or Hocus Pocus 2? They love playing Hocus Pocus in the fall.
Probably. I mean, it is spooky season. I probably want to keep it a little family friendly too.
Did you ever see the Adam Sandler like children's movie for Halloween? It came out like a year or two ago.
I feel like I feel like my wife was watching that and I just saw like parts of it.
I think it's called like Hobby Ween or something like that. I think his name is Hobby or Hobie or something. Hobie Ween. It's not bad. In fact, I may dare say it's one of Adam Sandler's greatest films. And
oh, wow.
That's because I don't know that his filmography is really that great. So you can say that's a bar raised or a bar lowered. We'll have to watch that during spooky season.
You're saying the gem Little Nicky doesn't hold a place in your heart?
Hobie Ween is a little bit higher than Little Nicky. But I digress. Continue.
Let's see. On October 14th, continued with a college tour. Providence College versus Georgetown.
Yeah, and I think Defiance will actually still be at that. I think that's the end of the college tour for both Rhode Island FC and Defiance, so that'd be good to see them there.
Nice. And then October 28th, Roger Williams Park Spooky Zoo.
I love the spooktacular that they do with all of the carved pumpkins. It's like 1 million pumpkins that they put out, and I enjoy it. I hope Rhode Island FC actually gets a pumpkin this year. Maybe they'll get a special carving, so we'll see what happens. But no, thanks for reading those out. Appreciate it. There's no questions tonight. We're hitting a dry spell here.
We've answered them all.
Listeners, Come on,
No
ask
more
us questions. So instead of questions, we're going to just replace it with plugs for buying our merch. So we have a new dad hat that if you had been following us since the beginning, maybe it was already out there and we redesigned it a little bit and put it back out there. But for the people in your life that love dad hats a little too much, which is interesting too, because dad hats, I see everyone wearing them, not just dads, like young men that if they are dads at that age,
I have
good
some
luck
dad
in life.
hats.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing. Like,
I don't have
I don't know why
kids.
they got called dad hats. I don't know. I don't know the history behind it, but we have one, and you need to go buy it immediately to support the podcast. And if you don't want to buy that hat, we've got another hat. We've got a couple T-shirts. We've got stickers. You can also donate. But if you don't want to do any of that and spend your money, I do have one thing that is kind of dawning on me. We have like a gazillion listens now, and we only have like 7 ratings on Spotify and Apple. And I thought the listeners also that they wanted to continue hearing us. So it's just really perplexing to understand that we only have, we have less than 20 combined ratings, which are great. Everyone's been positive. So thank you for the 5 stars. But what's going on? What's going on, people? Like before you switch to your next podcast or, whatever you want to listen to next in your day, just hit that rating. Jason, do you rate your podcasts?
Yeah. All the ones that I regularly listen to.
All of them, right? Because you respect the craft and people work really hard on it and you're just an American stud.
You know it.
So listeners, if you don't want to give us your money, I understand. We'll get it one way somehow one day. We've got a Patreon we're thinking about. It's going to be good. But in the meantime, just give us a rating. Give us a little like. Share it. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Tell your family's friends, which should be your friends too. But you get the idea. So help us out. And also, too, ask us questions, because if you don't ask us questions, this will be the selling segment from now on. So, but we do, again, from the bottom of our hearts, appreciate the rating and the mentions and all of the other love that you guys give. So all jokes aside. But I do want to end on a fun note. So a while ago, I had seen a post from Rhode Island FC, and they did an interactive poll on, is it this or is it that kind of terminology for the beautiful game? And I took print screens so I could, at the end of it, to see what the performance was. And it's really kind of a barometer of fan understanding of the game. And this comes after, Ted Lasso and Welcome to Wrexham and all of that. So I wanted to ask you which one you think people in New England answered. So for the listeners who can't see it, in our show notes, Jason can see the words and he sees 1%, but he doesn't know which one is the correct answer. So Jason, you have to tell me, for field or pitch, which one did listeners say was the correct term? In 68%.
Okay, interesting.
And what you answer here will either piss off a lot of people, and New England people are not to be trifled with, or you will earn their respect forever. So this is a trap game that you've now entered into.
So this is you want me to guess what I think they said?
Yes. I know you know these answers. So what did 68% of the New England fans that saw this on Rhode Island FC's social posts vote? Did they vote field or pitch at 68%?
I mean, I've heard that there's a lot of people who watch soccer in this state, but I don't know. I'm going to say they said field.
Oh, man, they're getting the pitchforks out already, because they did say pitch at 68%.
Okay, interesting.
So this community is well educated on pitches. Uniform or kit, 76%. Which one did they vote for?
Kit?
Absolutely. They said it was kit.
So they know the right answer is nice.
Well, this one is interesting because it's super close. Cleats or boots at 55%. Which one was 55?
Boots.
Boots again, correct. Shutout or clean sheet, 80% of the vote.
Clean sheet?
Correct. 0 versus nil, 74%.
Nil?
Are you just now defaulting to soccer for the rest?
Yeah. I mean, that would be my answer.
So nil at 74%. Here's the tough one. At only 52%. Is it soccer or is it football?
This one I'm going to go back. I'm going to say soccer.
It was wicked good football. You should have stuck to your guts. Yeah. So
so
the fans know it. The dangerously close on the soccer or football one though. that just kind of shows you at this point, it could be either one. But really proud of the fans. Disappointed in you not having the same faith in them, so I've burnt you out to all of them. You can find Jason on our socials and tell him what you think about it. But hey, listen, it's been a blast. Let's get this home. I think we've had fun today. This has been a podcast that's been all over the place, but I think this is probably the most fun we've had, just talking about whatever we can find to fill the gap on a random Thursday. So where can people find us?
All right. So we have a Twitter at RIFC Podcast. We are on Threads at RIFC Podcast, Instagram at Raising Anchor, and you can check out our website at www.raisinganchorpodcast.com.
Anchors up.
Anchors up, buddy.
You know, I realized earlier when you asked me what name I would get, I didn't actually in turn ask you the same question back. What would you pick as a name, or would you be the player? Would you get player specific?
Oh, considering it's the first season, the very inaugural season, I have not seen any of them play. I'm perfectly okay with having no name on the back.
What if I do anchors and you do up?
Or like yours says raising and mine says anchors. So we just always have to stand next to each other
in the right order too.
Just backwards. Huh? Anchor raising. What's that?
Must be some other weird podcast about fishing.
Boating activities.
Anchors up?
Did we say anchors up?
I don't know.
Double tap it just to be
up.
safe. Anchors up.
Anchors up.